Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. Sunday, October the 5th, 6:24 a.m. I hope you're having a great start to your Sunday morning. Hope you're having an awesome weekend. It's cooler here in Calgary. You can see I'm not wearing t-shirts anymore. Got the sweatshirt on, and I do not want to have to turn on the thing in that room back there. That's my fossil fuel generated heat that keeps me from dying every year here in Alberta when winter comes. Got my big blue mug of coffee with me today. Thanks for being here today. I want to talk about barriers today. Barriers to Alberta prosperity. And the thing I thought about this morning, I don't know why I woke up thinking about this, was the change in attitude of BC Premier David Eby. Why all of a sudden, I was talking to somebody yesterday involved with the independence movement here in Alberta. Went out for coffee yesterday. And I was talking to him about this and what has changed all of a sudden when it comes to the attitude of David Eby. It's changed quite a bit. I'll show you a couple of clips in just a moment that prove it. But there's another barrier in the way of Alberta prosperity that not too many people are talking about. What are the barriers right now? Well, you've heard them a dozen times. You've got Bill C-48, Bill C-69. We haven't got access to a port on the West Coast or the East Coast for that matter. We've got the emissions cap in the way. We've got the net zero regulations of the Carney government, things like that. Those are the things that Danielle Smith talked about. Another barrier is C5. Now, that was the bill that would allow Mark Carney to decide what gets built in the country. That is a barrier, regardless of what people are saying. C5 was built to get around Bill C-69 and 48, which are still on the books, which are still laws. Mark Carney is the decider for Alberta. And then, of course, there's the Carney Consensus we've talked about before. Aboriginal groups, Indigenous groups, provinces can get in the way of anything they want. But what else is a barrier right now? And it's the biggest thing that not too many people are talking about. So let's look at David Eby and what he was talking about back in the summertime. This is him on CTV News, and he was talking about working with Alberta. And this is what he had to say back then.
Well, I've said very clearly to Premier Smith that if she's able to arrange that, then we're happy to sit down with Alberta and have that conversation with them about what that would look like. But let's be honest with ourselves. We have a $36 billion pipeline that's publicly owned that the federal government cannot sell. It's not even operating at capacity. There is not a world in which that pipeline across the north happens without significant federal subsidy. If the Premier of Alberta is able to pull that off, I say more power to her.
So he said back then, hey, listen, if she can pull this off, certainly we'll talk to her. She doesn't want the federal government to pay for this. She's going to put $14 million into being a proponent for a pipeline out there. So she's working within the boundaries that she's been given. But David Eby was being rather friendly about it back then, but he changed the other day. And what has changed? So this is what he had to say the other day. And like I said the other day, he's spitting fire here. He wants nothing to do with Alberta anymore. He wants nothing to do with my province and my premier.
The problem that we have is that Premier Smith continues to advance a project that is entirely taxpayer funded, has no private sector proponent, is not a real project. And is incredibly alarming to British Columbians, including First Nations along the coast, whose support is required for the success of the billions of dollars in real projects that I'm talking about. We need a major projects office at the federal level, not a major distractions office, not a major politics office, but an office that advances real shovel-ready projects that will move this economy forward in British Columbia and nationally. And what I am seeing from Alberta directly threatens that. So
he's changed his attitude quite a bit. What has changed? Why is he talking like this right now? See articles like this online right now. David Eby, not a pipeline, is the true threat to Canada's economy. Jason Kenney was on CBC saying a similar thing and tweeting about this as well. I'd put Kenney on, but he's an absolute nutcase. He doesn't like people like me who want to see an independent Alberta. He wants the continued mediocrity of Canada. There's this as well. Keith Wilson, I'd like to get him on my channel. BC Premier David Eby makes unconstitutional threat to block Alberta's pipeline needs. Here's the truth. Vancouver runs out of gasoline in 4 to 5 days without Alberta's existing pipelines. As an independent nation, Alberta holds massive leverage. BC would have no choice but to allow Alberta to get her pipelines built. So more of this talk about basically shutting down rail lines, shutting down roads, and turning off the energy to BC, we could certainly do that. And certainly unconstitutional. You see, the federal government has control of pipelines between provinces. Provinces control the natural resources, but the federal government can make a decision on this. So Carney could come out and say, listen, Mr. Eby, this is in the national interest. We need a pipeline, but he's not going to do that. And why? The big thing that is very important here. I was going to play a little clip here from Danielle Smith, but it's just not even bother that. She's going over the same old ground over and over again. She knows what's going on here, but the reason why we're not going to see a pipeline decided on by Mark Carney anytime soon is because of an election. There is an election. There's talk of election right now. There could be election very soon. We've got a budget coming out for the first time in about 18 months in early November, and we're expected to see massive deficits here and spending, and Carney needs the support of another party. Now, the Conservatives will not support his budget, but if he doesn't get complete support of the rest of the parties, then there will be an election. If Carney were to come out sometime soon and say there is a pipeline going to go through BC, the Liberals have 20 seats in British Columbia, and they need all of them, or the Conservatives will get in. They only have 2 seats in Alberta. So what side is Mark Carney going to take? He's going to take the side of BC, because if Carney said he's going to put a pipeline through, he could lose some seats, and it would all be over for the Liberal Party. And what do the Liberals care about the most? They care about power. They don't care about prosperity at all. Now, what else do they care about? Well, what are they investing money in right now? They're not investing in pipelines. Not that I want them to, because as Danielle Smith said, it would be a failure if it was government that had to invest in pipelines. She wants to see private companies invest in pipelines. But what is the federal government investing in here? Here is your energy minister. This is Tim Hodge.
That is why today I'm pleased to announce a federal investment of over $22 million in support of 8 projects in Quebec and across the rest of Canada to accelerate battery innovation and production capacity all across this country.
He's investing in EV batteries in Quebec. That's the priority of the government. Here he is again. He's asked about how EV batteries are failing. He's asked about this. Listen to what he says. This is a guy who has control of some of your money, a lot of your money. Listen to this.
Sometimes those things fail. That's part of business. I mean, I'm a business person, but that's part of business. When somebody fails, we shouldn't look down on them. We should say, good for you for trying. Let's help you.
The problem is it's your money that's failing. This failure is costing you money. This guy is saying it's perfectly fine if EV battery plants fail. Here's a story out of Quebec. Northvolt battery plant partnership dead. Loses $270 million investment. Here's a look at some investment failures here. Canada's seen significant EV investment failures and setbacks, notably at Northvolt battery plant collapse in Quebec due to its parent company's bankruptcy, resulting in lost government funding and efforts to recover assets. Additionally, Ford has scrapped its planned Oakville EV plant after receiving substantial government support, and Honda has delayed its Ontario EV investment, citing weak demand and challenging profitability due to the factors like U.S. auto tariffs. These events highlight challenges with market demand, profitability, and the reliance on foreign companies and complex supply chains. We're talking about billions of dollars, and the energy minister in Canada says it's fine if they fail. At least they tried, folks. Meanwhile, we've got Blanchette, who realizes what's going on a federal basis here. Yves-François Blanchette, the head of the Bloc Québécois, he knows Carney's between a rock and a hard place here. He needs this guy's support when it comes to the upcoming non-confidence vote, which basically the budget will be. If there's a vote of non-confidence, we've got an election, folks. This is what he says about Alberta.
Let's imagine that Quebec is an independent and free country. We will go on the world stages to say that Alberta is destroying the environment of the whole planet.
We are destroying the environment of the whole planet. See, Yves-François Blanchette knows that Mark Carney needs him. David Eby knows that Mark Carney can't okay a pipeline through BC or he'll lose seats in British Columbia. And he needs them all. So there's not a chance in hell that we're going to get a pipeline. And I know Danielle Smith knows this. Again, she needs to stop playing nice and she needs to start getting even. And it would be nasty as hell to shut down the rail lines. It'd be nasty as hell to shut down the roads. It'd be nasty as hell to shut off supply of energy as British Columbia heads into winter, just like the rest of the country. But at least we would have some leverage over what the hell's going on here. And what would be better, and what I think is just, I'm just fine with all of this. Be honest with you, I'm fine with all of this. So many people so upset with the federal government here. They don't live in Alberta. And they're not somebody who wants Alberta independence. Every time this kind of crap happens, it's just a benefit for the Alberta independence movement. But this is just another barrier. For 10 years under the Liberal government, we've been trying to bring barriers down, and more have been built. We seem to forget that. Thanks for watching. By the way, don't forget, October 25th, you need to be in Edmonton at the legislature from 4 to 6 for an independence rally. You need to be there. I will be there. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great Sunday.